There are moments in life that feel like they'd been building for years, a slow-burning fuse leading to a single explosive instant. For me, that moment arrived on the most humiliating night of my life, in a room filled with people who were there to celebrate my insignificance. My brother David was a god to my parents, the golden son, the future of the family empire, and the one whose every accomplishment was a testament to his perfection. I was simply the other one, a shadow in a house of endless light. So when my father, Robert, stood on stage at David's graduation party and announced that every bit of their multi-million-dollar company, the mansion and the family fortune, would be passed to him, I just sat there, invisible. My parents had made it clear for as long as I could remember. David was their masterpiece, and I was the flawed sketch they tried to forget. I was trying to disappear behind a large vase of flowers, hoping no one would notice the boy in the ill-fitting suit who was not the prodigy. I heard the toasts, the clinking of champagne glasses, the thunderous applause that confirmed what I already knew. My worth was nothing to them. Then, as the music swelled again, and the crowd turned their attention back to the celebration, a man I had never seen before moved toward me. He was not smiling, not celebrating. He just had his eyes locked on mine as he moved through the room with a clear, unsettling purpose. When he reached me, he leaned in close and quietly told me something that broke through the despair of that night. "It's time to tell them who you really are." Before I could even ask who he was, he placed a thick white envelope on the table in front of me and was gone. My heart began to pound so hard it felt like it would tear through my chest. For years, I had believed the version of myself they had created for me, the disappointment, the failure, the son who could never measure up. But in that one phrase, that stranger had offered a single, terrifying alternative. The envelope felt heavy, a burden of both fear and hope. Part of me wanted to throw it away and run, to avoid any more public shame. But the other part, a defiant flicker I had been trying to ignore for years, urged me to open it. I peeled back the seal, my hands trembling, as I pulled out the documents inside. My breath caught in my throat when I saw my name, Liam, in a bold official font, legally attached to every asset my father had just announced was my brother's. That's when I knew everything was about to change. The noise of the ballroom faded the moment I saw my name on the legal documents. My heart hammered against my ribs as I tried to make sense of the words. It wasn't a joke. It was a formal, legal transfer of the company, the mansion, and all the assets my father had just publicly promised to my brother. My grandfather, John, had signed it years ago, leaving everything to me. I pressed the papers to my lap, shielding them from view. For a moment, a lifetime of being overlooked, mocked, and dismissed came crashing down on me all at once. My brother's smirk, my father's public praise, my mother's dismissive silence, it all felt like a deep wound that was just now being exposed to the air. The truth I held in my hands felt like both a terrifying burden and a promise of freedom. I looked up at the stage where my father stood accepting the endless congratulations. David was beside him, basking in the glow of his supposed destiny. They were completely unaware that the future they had so arrogantly claimed for themselves was now tucked inside my jacket. My mind raced with the gravity of the situation. I could leave, deal with this quietly, and avoid a public scene. But the thought of enduring one more moment of their false celebration, one more second of their casual cruelty, made the decision for me. I had been their shadow my entire life, and tonight I would finally step into the light. My legs felt unsteady as I stood up. My father, from the stage, noticed me and frowned, clearly annoyed by the interruption. As I walked, people turned to look at me, their curious eyes landing on me, a stranger in their midst. I saw David's confident grin widen into a mocking smile. He must have thought I was coming to offer a public tribute, to play my assigned role as his silent admirer. My mother gave me a quick, sharp look, a warning to stay in my place. But I kept walking, every step a rejection of the life they had forced on me. I climbed the steps to the stage, my pulse pounding a rhythm I had never felt before. Robert stepped forward, his voice a low, furious hiss. "Liam, this is not your moment. Get back to your seat." But for the first time, I didn't listen. I pulled the envelope from my jacket and held it up, my hands no longer shaking. "Actually, Father, this moment belongs to me." The music stopped. The glasses went silent. David's confident grin faltered as he stared at the documents. "I'm not the one embarrassing myself. You are." With that, I opened the folder, revealing the legal papers, the family seal shimmering under the golden lights. "These are signed transfer agreements from John. He chose me, not you, David. He chose me, not you, Father. The company, the mansion, the accounts, all of it was placed in my name years ago." A wave of whispers erupted, a mix of shock and disbelief that finally drowned out the silence that had suffocated me for a lifetime. The whispers died down, and a heavy silence fell over the room. My father, Robert, lunged at me, his face red with rage. "This is ridiculous. That old man was confused." But before he could grab the papers from my hands, a new voice, firm and clear, cut through the tension. I knew exactly what I was doing. The crowd turned as my grandfather, John, rose slowly from a chair near the front. He walked with a cane, but his presence commanded more authority than anyone in that room. He stepped onto the stage and placed a hand on my shoulder, a gesture that felt more solid and real than my father's entire lifetime of empty promises. "I watched both of my grandsons grow," my grandfather said, his voice carrying clearly. "David, you have brilliance, but brilliance without humility becomes arrogance. Robert, you built wealth, but you lost compassion. Liam has endured neglect and cruelty, yet he has not hardened his heart. He will lead because he knows the value of every person, not just the powerful." The weight of his words settled over the ballroom. David's face, once full of confidence, turned pale as the reality of the situation sunk in. My father stood frozen, speechless for the first time in his life. My mother's perfect smile dissolved, her lips trembling as the life she had built on a lie shattered in front of everyone. I felt a powerful shift within me. The shame and humiliation I had carried for so long finally broke away, replaced by a deep, quiet sense of peace. This wasn't about winning or getting revenge. It was about honoring the one person who had believed in me. I looked out at the audience, my voice steady. My father told me I was nothing, but my grandfather believed in me. I won't waste what he entrusted me with. I will honor this family's legacy by building people, not just profits. The first hesitant claps began, then spread, growing into a wave of applause that filled the room. It was a sound that had never been meant for me, but tonight it washed away years of silence. My father's face was still red with fury, and David stood frozen, his confident smirk gone, replaced by something I had never seen before: fear. Later, when the crowd had thinned and the chandeliers had dimmed, I walked outside into the cool New York air. The city lights stretched across the skyline, a million glowing promises. I thought of the boy I had been sitting at the end of the table, and the man I was becoming with the truth in my hands. I realized that my worth had never been defined by the voices that tried to bury me. The shame and sadness had been a difficult path, but it had prepared me to lead with a strength no one expected. The burden of this inheritance was immense, but it was also a gift, a chance to build something on a foundation of humility and compassion. I was not the other one, but the person my grandfather believed I could be. My time had come, and the truth, just as he had promised, had finally set me free.